As you can hear, Ryan,
My back hurts
I have
from carrying you.
the consumption. I have the consumption, Ryan.
What? Constipation?
It's the black plague or the white plague or the red plague. It's some plague. It's congesty-ish. I don't know. Can't breathe. Don't have air. And I think that's a requirement of life, if I'm not mistaken, Ryan. Today, Ryan, we, and by we I mean you, are going to talk about. We actually talked about this a little bit ago. I've had a debate about this. You've had a debate about this separately. Funny enough, if you ever wonder if me and Ryan should be doing the show together, the answer is yes. About if illegal immigrants have rights under our Constitution. I would love the chat to get involved today because I'd like to hear what people think about this. Honestly, like openly, like I know where I stand, and I'm not saying I can't be changed on this, but I know where I stand currently, and I've never heard a good argument for this. To me, Ryan, the United States Constitution is just that. It's the United States Constitution. The Bill of Rights, which is with the United States Constitution, also applies to United States citizens. So, what is the argument for illegal aliens having rights in our country?
When I typed this in, I got into a slate. I seen it on somebody's Facebook page with everything going on, and I commented that the United States Constitution only applies to American citizens, and they said no. So I typed it in
Were you
Google.
were you asking AI for assistance on this?
So I didn't want to take somebody's word for it. So I looked up like at SupremeCourt.gov, and there has been rulings about this. And they're basically, from my understanding, the way that they're framing it is that as long as you're in this country, you basically have the same legal rights as all other citizens. Because like our country is a country of borders and laws and military and
So you're saying the Supreme Court believes that the rights belong to anyone within our borders, but not citizens.
yeah, I'm loosely jargoning this, David. Yes.
And it's okay, by the way, for them to think this, but I disagree with whatever ruling that would be completely.
This kind of goes, I don't know if this is just like baked into the psyche of Americans or if like this is because we are such good people that we like think that we should just take care of other people. I don't know if this is because people want to be taken care of. I don't know if this is because they can't care of themselves as well as they think. Um, because it does say something socioeconomically about the psychology of people. Like if politics is the study, like political science is like the study of like cultural, political psychology, right? So like maybe it's just baked into us to want to take care of these people and we just automatically agree that since you're in America you should kind of be treated as Americans because we are ones to not segregate. We are ones to want to be inclusive and to welcome people and share ideas. And I do believe that. I do believe large. I don't think people maliciously think that illegal aliens having the same rights, voting capabilities. One thing in New York that was a big hot contention is that illegal immigrants from out of New York State were getting in state tuition rates for colleges in New York State, but people that grew up in New York State their entire life were not getting the same rates, and they would actually pay more for college living in a state that they lived in their whole life, that their dad worked. Don't fucking matter. The illegal immigrants getting shipped in get cheaper costs, or they get things provided for them. The driver's licenses, the shipping around, the tax-free. One big thing for immigrants, for people that don't understand xenophobia or xenophobia or extraphobia or fuck it phobia, is that people that they don't like the idea of foreigners coming here getting tax exempt status on businesses for 7 to 10 years, and we cannot do that as American citizens. So this is where, like, if you want to talk about breeding homegrown terrorism or threats within our borders. What it really is people within their own country are disenfranchised by a system that seems to want more for people breaking the law to get here than the people living here legally and being good and moral and having a family and doing just. And it seems that as long as you're coming from a lesser country, you can skate, you can control alt delete your morals so long as you come to America. Um, so yeah, once again, I don't think most people that think they agree with like illegal aliens. Once again, I just don't think they think it through. I don't think, because the problem is it's not a honestly, it's not a problem you want to do this. The problem is what you actually do when you allow illegal aliens the same rights as you do as a citizen, is you're kind of devaluing your rights as a citizen. You're kind of devaluing what it means to be American. You're
Well,
kind of
you're
like
also taking away the
circumventing
incentive. You're also taking away the complete incentive to come here legally.
legally, and then you're also, if America is the global standard as far as military, you're also devaluing the highest standard of citizenship that there is. So what does it mean to be a citizen? Is this part of global citizenship, David? Is this part of one world government, David? um which I would incline to, because that's the whole point of this thing, is to make us all one fucking bullshit and one, but regardless of that, that's not what this conversation is necessarily about, though it always will segue into globalism, because basically the main
Well,
idea
it
people
has
don't
to
understand.
because
David,
if
pull it, just fuck it, I don't even care. Pull up YouTube, immigration explaining gumballs, and we're just gonna watch the whole video. I don't care if it's 10 minutes, because this is actually
I think
done
we've
by a doctor. But yeah,
yeah, we've watched this before, and here's the thing: like globalism, uh,
it's
will
inevitable.
always exist. Well, of course, it's inevitable, especially if you have no borders. If there are no borders, it's already globalism.
Which is what Trump said in 16 and 15. He said, if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. If you don't have a country, what do you have? And then to go further, people that don't understand their own rights as citizens are telling me that we should extend these rights to other citizens, but you'll vote for your rights to be taken away from you, which is what you're basically doing by default when you allow illegal aliens to have the same rights as us. Now, I don't know. This is always a tricky contention. I don't know if we should just like raid people's whole existence because their country, like, I don't necessarily think that illegal aliens should not be able to have the freedom of speech and talk on the. I think they should, short of voting. I think not illegals necessarily, but if these people are citizens, if you can prove
Well,
as
but
an
remember, voting
illegal,
isn't actually a right.
well, but I'm just saying, me personally, David, like short of like voting and driver's licenses and like legal paperwork and like like if you're not an American citizen, like I don't know how much you want from us, you know. But I'm not saying they can't come here, but we should make them a path. The term path to citizenship has been said for a while, David. Now
Well, the thing is
I
that
don't
with the
know if
path of
we should.
citizenship, the path of
It
citizenship
happen.
needs to happen before they get here, not after they came here legally.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's really what the problem is. In this gumball video, will show this. What we need to do is actually promote capitalism, and we need to promote a higher standard of living around the entire world. And then the idea of illegal immigrants fleeing their countries because they're shitholes to come here because it's better will end. Because what we need to do is get the rest of the world to a higher standard of living instead of trying to bring people to our standard of living. Because what you're basically doing is just stealing and killing the golden goose, because there's not enough money or people in America to fix the rest of the world. It's just physically impossible. And this video shows it. And this is dated. I don't know when this video came out, but
It's pretty old. I saw it years and years ago.
I would say this is a 10-year-old video.
Some people say that mass immigration into the United States can help reduce world poverty. Is that true? Well, no, it's not. And let me show you why. This gumball represents the 1 million legal immigrants that the United States has taken every year on average since 1990.
That one gumball
Now,
like
who in the
1 million,
world
he said.
deserves our humanitarian compassion? The World Bank has one measure of the desperately poor of the world. They make less than $2 a day. And how many people make less than $2 a day in the world? We'll start with Africa. Africa, There are 650 million people who make less than $2 a day. 650 million.
That's like twice
And
the
in India,
population of the United States. That's fucking absurd.
another 890 million people desperately poor. China adds another 480 million people making less than $2 a day. And unfortunately, the rest of Asia has a heartbreaking 810 million people who the World Bank says make less than $2 a day.
This is like most
And
of
finally,
the world
there's
at this
105 million of Latin America's population that are desperately poor. All told, the World
105
Bank
million
says
is a
there are
third of our
3
population.
billion people in the world. 3 billion people
point. Seems like communism's working out
who
pretty
are
well
desperately
for everybody.
poor, making less than $2 a day. That's 3,000 gumballs. And every year,
Who's got more spare gumballs there than all of
that
Asia?
we've somehow made a humanitarian difference. Of course, we don't pull our immigrants from these desperately poor populations, do we? These people are too poor, too sick, too disconnected
Too full
to
of
make it here as immigrants. We tend to pull our immigrants out of the better off poor of the world. And Mexico tends to define the type of immigrant that we bring here because the plurality of people come from Mexico. And Mexico is poor. How many people in the world live in countries that have incomes lower than that in Mexico? And what that tells us that number is these 3 billion plus another 2.6 billion people.
By the way, Ryan, did you see California is
5.6
fourth in
billion
global
people
economies?
in the world
No.
who
America
live in
is in the
countries
top 5 twice.
with average incomes below that of Mexico.
But tariffs are going to hurt, Ryan.
That's 5,600 gumballs.
New York's the
And so
seventh
what is
largest
it that
economy.
the elites are telling us? They're telling us that when we take
We're in the top 10.
this
like
1 million
Give me a
immigrants,
break.
The top 10 8
that we
times.
somehow or another are tackling world poverty. And we have to do it regardless of the effect on our employees or the most vulnerable members of our society, regardless of the effect on our natural resources. Even if we went by the most radical proposals in Washington, which are to actually double our immigration to 2 million a year,
Is he referring to legal immigration?
which would
currently,
totally
though?
overwhelm our
Yeah.
physical, natural, and social infrastructures.
So this isn't
we couldn't
even
make a
illegal
noticeable
immigration. This is
difference.
just illegal
And
immigration.
we may be really hurting
This is what we're
the
taking
impoverished
every
people
year
of the world,
lawfully.
because the million that we do take are among the most energetic, often the better educated, certainly the most dissatisfied people that if they did not immigrate, the ages of change to improve the lot of all the people in these countries. The true
Except they'd be
heroes
killed.
in the global humanitarian field are the people in these countries who have the wherewithal to immigrate to another country, but instead stay in their countries to apply their skills to help their fellow countrymen. Unfortunately, our immigration system tends to entice these very type of people to abandon their countrymen. The impossibility of making even a dent is actually worse than it looks here.
This is an important
Because
point. When we take the best and the brightest around the world
last year,
and immigrate
when we
them here
took
legally, they
1
leave
million
their own
immigrants,
country, leaving their country with
these countries
less quality
added
people.
births over deaths,
It
80
destroys the
million
chances of
more
third
people
world countries
into the
becoming
impoverished
better.
populations. And this year, Congress is bringing in 1 million legal immigrants. And this year, according to the United Nations, these countries are expected to add another 80 million people. Next year, you can be sure that countries, unless stopped by the American voters, will bring in another 1 million immigrants. And these countries, unfortunately, will be adding another 80 million people into these impoverished nations. We could take 5 million a year, but we'd never get ahead of what's happening in these countries, not in this century. Don't you see? Immigration can never be an effective or significant way to deal with the suffering people of the world. They have to be helped where they live. 99.9% of them will never be able to immigrate to a rich country. There's no hope for that. They have to bloom where they're planted. The only place that 99.9% of these people can be helped is where they live. Let's help them there.
It's not going to work. You just
It should
have
be
to
the,
do something about it. You can't. And here's the thing: everyone's complaining that about sending these people to El Salvador. I don't necessarily think that's the best answer or the best solution, but certainly sending them out of here it has to be done. You can try to do it as quickly as possible. The very obvious ones, the people who not only are here illegally, which is breaking the law, but then broke more laws when they came here illegally, thus making them double illegal. Ryan, fire those people out of here. We know if these people are citizens. This is not an extenuating court. There's no jury of your peers. Your peers are somewhere else. There can't be a jury of your peers. They aren't here by definition. Your peers are in your country. Go back there if you want a trial. By the way, I hope you have a good legal system there. You just
yeah, people need to realize that we are not given the same courtesies that we give to other countries and other people.
No, go to Mexico illegally. It's not going to work out well for you. But the ultimate irony is we would never do that, because why the fuck would we? Anywhere, this is the ultimate point too that everyone just skirts around. We would never find ourselves in that situation because we can't go anywhere on Earth that would improve our lives.
Yeah. And also, to go further, I'm glad that we take the best of the fucking immigrants. I don't want their shitty poor people.
Yeah, see, I said that to John. I said, give me the best and the brightest, the best legal immigrants. Let's let it be a meritocracy. Let's take the best. John just doesn't like smelly Indian people, and that's up to him. That's fine. His words, not mine. I don't have a good sense of smell. I don't know what they smell like.
Now, granted, that my family may have not been able to come here because we could have been some dumb fucking peasant farmer fucks, but maybe we traded to skill people. Doesn't have to be brains.
Well, we talked about that with the illegal immigrants coming here. The best way to defend yourself from them taking your jobs, which is something people think is going to be a big issue.
I think it's
the best
dumb
thing you
in
can do
general.
is have a job that is a skilled position that requires some form of talent and ability, something that's acquired that
Just
takes
don't do
time to
drywall,
learn a
David.
craft.
Just don't
Don't
do
do drywall.
drywall.
Don't do drywall. Don't
Just
do landscaping. Like, you're going to get outworked. I'm just telling you.
outworked and out language barrier.
You are going to be outworked.
It's crazy. You could be in Colorado. Like, where the fuck did these Mexicans come from? Drywall.
My sister used to live in Arizona, and her entire neighborhood, there was like old, like Chevy Cheyenne, like K 1500 trucks, and just the bed would have like 12 Mexicans just standing in the bed as they drive house to house and and they would have like, I watched them the one day, they would have like the whole yard done in like literally 10 minutes. They would mow, weed whack, they would like mulch and shit. It would be 10 minutes and they'd go to the next yard. I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Dude, when I worked for Palestinian immigrant electricians, we carried 700-pound fucking light poles off a truck by hand, dude. You need like a forklift for that shit. They're like, no, just.
I don't know if I ever told you the story, but I used to roof with my cousin. And for the longest time, like, it was the bitch work, like the stuff they didn't want to do. I get it. I was like 15 years old and they paid me like $20 an hour or whatever. But I'd carry these fucking big, heavy. I don't know if you've ever lugged shingles up a ladder before, but they're heavy as fuck. So you'd load one up on one shoulder and the other shoulder, and you start climbing up the fucking ladder, and you'd put it on top, and then you run down, and you grab the next ones, and you bring them on top. And I did like 10 houses, okay? And then on like the 11th house, I'm watching across the street. They're also doing a roof, like a different crew is doing the roof. And a fucking truck with a conveyor belt pulls up, backs right up to the fucking thing. The conveyor belt extends up to the roof, and then they just start loading these shingles onto the conveyor belt. I'm like, dude, how fucking long has that been out for? He's like, oh, it's been out for a while. I'm like, why the fuck am I loading these up a fucking ladder? I'm so mad. So pissed off. You have no idea. Why am I fucking walking these 50-pound bags up a fucking ladder at 15 years old?
I carry a 50-pound panel up a ladder all day.
Rights. Do they have rights, Ryan? The Supreme Court said they have rights. But I'm talking bigger picture than that. I'm not asking for prior court rulings. I'm saying, what do you
If illegal aliens have rights, it devalues my rights as a citizen. If they can vote, it devalues my vote. If they can go to school for cheaper than me, it devalues my education. If they can get a job for less labor, they literally devalue my labor at a dollar value. Regardless or not, I don't care. Look, the same people, Democrats want a living fair wage for people, but they're also telling me that if we paid people a living fair wage for strawberries, it would be too expensive for strawberries. So they know how free market economic works. They're just pricks. Fuck you, okay? You're double dipping now. I'm sick and tired of it. It's plain as day. Nobody wants real immigration. Why should their kids go to our school on our dollar if they don't pay taxes? Serious question. Serious question. It's not bigotry. If they were white Ukrainians, David, I'd say the same fucking thing.
Well, that's
Fuck, I
the
don't
same
want our money to
argument
go
that
to
we make with
war in other countries or nation building. What makes you think I want, I don't want our money to go to useless causes. I want our money to help homeless veterans and starving people. I do think we need a government program for homelessness, or it needs to be contracted to private something needs to be fucking done. Why should the Bill Stadium get built for $1 trillion, but 6 blocks away there's a homeless shelter that has a line and not enough food? Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Not that the rich people need to fucking pay for it, David. That's not what I'm saying, right? That's a very different theory. But something, I agree. But you won't give your own citizens. Everybody needs a helping hand. Those people would not vote to bring you to their country, but you're acting as if they would do that because you would do that for them. Not everybody does that for each other. We're actually the only people in the history of forever that have really done that. The Romans only did it because it made Rome stronger.
a meritocracy.
And then what? On the Statue of Liberty, give me your weak, give me your poor, give me your strong, give me your fit. That's a poem, you fucks.
Well, that was a setup by France. They were trying to weaken us, Ryan.
By giving us a giant statue of copper. I really appreciate it for the $1 trillion.
Yeah, send your poor. It was probably somebody gave it to France and they regifted it. They're like, no, send your poor people to fucking America. We don't want them. I think,
And then we
Ryan,
saved them in the Second World War.
we've talked about this point though with foreign wars before. He was shifting my camera around as she scratches her head.
Sorry.
We've talked about this before with foreign wars, where as much as we say on this program that we don't want to send money to Ukraine to help them with their battles with Russia, that's a Ukraine problem. It just is. I'm sorry. And if Russia is bigger and stronger and they take you over, historically, that's what happens in the world.
Yeah, get fucked.
That's just how it is. I mean, that's just
Dude,
nature.
we are the
people beat you up.
benefits. We are the benefits of all the Greco-Roman wars and conquest and Western imperialism. Your iPhone. And then you're going to tell me that, no, we're better. We won. I don't understand what's wrong about that. The Greeks and Romans were right. That's why we got farther than everybody. What the fuck is so wrong with that? It's not braggadocious. You guys want to be like Americans. I've said this before, David. I would get rid of borders if the whole world became America. But you're not asking me for that. You're asking for the inverse. You want America to be like the rest of the world. No. You mean you want the rest? We're the oldest democracy in the history of the world, and you want me to fucking bend the knee to the rest? Get fucked.
It's a fair point. But we say the same thing on the show too with Israel. Like, don't send the money to Israel. Don't send it to Ukraine. Don't send it to whatever European country. The money needs to stay here. It's our money. It should be. I've said this many times. It should be the most universally agreed upon thing from all citizens of the United States that our tax money stays here within our borders. There
And you
should be
wouldn't have to worry
no
about
question
minimum
about that.
wage because there'd be so much fucking money here. There'd be this idea of living wage and the money leaving and shipping. Dude, it just wouldn't exist. Our grandparents had the same dollar value standard of living, David. They didn't have cool gadgets like us, but the same dollar value at 25-cent increments because they were made of silver.
It's the one thing everyone forgets when they talk about why your great grandparents could buy houses on one person's
Oh, you mean
salary, a 40
because
hour
the
work
bank?
week.
Because banks printed
Because
our money into fucking oblivion.
the money was backed by gold. Of course, you could buy a house.
I got asked by Sam the other day, what are the things you're most worried about? And I told her, I said, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. No war, no this, no climate change, no this. The biggest things crippling our time is the hyper devaluation of the United States dollar and the population crisis are the two worst things. Those things will cripple. Those are the worst things. But yeah, it's just devalue. The same way they devalue our dollar when they print money is the same way they devalue your citizenship with every illegal immigrant that they allow to do things that only citizens should be able to do.
I like your point about
Like, what's the logic?
I
What?
like your point
Yeah.
about the borders. You can take them away today. You can take the
Yeah.
borders away today. All borders, take them all away. If every country becomes America,
Yes. Our legal system, our constitution, our Bill of Rights, our form of government, this what we have today. So yeah, all the hijabs, all the bullshit, all the Chinese fucking communist cocksuckers, the yep. Yeah, it solves all that. Gets rid of all that. All those Saudi kings. Nope, you gotta claim taxes, baby.
you worried about tariffs? I like
Worry
this.
about
I like
tariffs.
this.
There's no tariffs.
Let's
Global.
make this a thing, Ryan. We're pro globalism as long as it's America.
Make
American
make the
globalism, Ryan.
globe America. Make the globe America again.
Ryan, I have something
The
else.
Global American Party, the GPA, David. Global American Party, GAP. The Gap Party, David.
I have something else, Ryan.
What? Thigh Gap.
No, I've always considered myself, Ryan. Um,
As a straight gay man.
that doesn't make sense.
Like getting pegged?
Libertarian-ish, Ryan. Libertarian-ish.
Conservatarian.
Conservatarian. Let me explain why I'm libertarian-ish. Here's my beef with like hardcore libertarians. Okay, Robert Kennedy announced recently that he is going to, over the next 2 years, slowly wean out of our food supply chemical food dyes. Okay, over the next 2 years, and there's libertarians saying that it's an overstep of government because they're not allowing private companies to poison us. Like what kind of what mindset is this, Ryan?
It's literally in the fucking paperwork, David, to
To
promote
be
the general welfare of the fucking civilians. It's we the people, bitch. It's poison. How they're making you fat, dumb, and retarded, Mr. Libertarian. No wonder you're libertarian. And not part of the Gap Party, David.
I don't understand this mindset. I am also anti-government when it infringes on your rights. Completely agree. But there is a legitimate role of government, and if private companies are poisoning your food supply, them stepping in to say, "No, I don't think you should poison everybody," seems like a legitimate role of government to me. That's
Here's the
why
problem I
I'm
have.
like a mini anarchist, right?
A
Not.
mini
This
anarchist.
is this is the thing. Like us and Kevin, we always talked about this because Kevin is a full blown anarchist, and I haven't heard from that guy in a while. By the way, I wonder how he's doing. He's a full blown anarchist, and he calls himself an anarcho capitalist or whatever the fuck he calls himself. That's fine, but you cannot allow private companies to poison you because they're private companies. I don't want corporations harming people. I don't want governments harming people. Whatever way that figures itself out, then it needs to get figured out.
Dude, what I don't understand. Look, if it alters the DNA of the species, I think we're kind of like Like it's not even about government, dude.
At what point is there a bigger picture, though? Like if you're that person who's running around saying that the government doesn't have the authority to take out food dyes that are poisoning people,
When they have children.
then
A lot of
then
times
what?
when those people have children.
So that's it. Period. Or is there an event in general where you're like, okay, maybe corporations shouldn't be allowed to do that? There has to be some
Uh,
line in
uh,
the sand that a libertarian
I'm
is like,
sure
no,
that
I don't want a
Luigi
corporation
guy.
doing that either. I don't care if it's a private corporation. I don't care if it's a public entity.
Yeah, I don't know if I want privatized police, for example.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think the public has done a tremendous job with police either. But
I think
the
we could
problem is there's
privatize
no
some of the training. I think we should privatize some of the training with police. We could,
well.
like, I don't necessarily think the government should be in charge of training the government on how to be less tyrannical.
Here's the problem with
Like I've also said
privatizing
that. But
certain things, like the police, for example. You gotta remember this. When you privatize something, there has to be an incentive for it to be privatized. So like there has to be some form of way for it to fund itself. So if something is privatized like the police, then they have to have a cash flow. So what would a cash
you're gonna get
flow
a bill
look
from a
like?
cop.
What would cash flow look like from the police? Like, do businesses? I mean, I
A speeding
suppose you
ticket,
could find
David.
some. I feel there. You'd basically treat police like privatized security guards. I suppose at that point, where maybe like a business would pay, where they'd all somehow pay the privatized company to, you know, protect their air. Like I don't. The problem is I don't know how you would do it in a way that makes sense for it to be privatized.
Well, Dave, this clearly sounds like the space laser that targeted all of the poor people's houses on Hawaii, not the rich people's.
There was somebody who posted something along the lines of, yeah, good luck taking all the chemicals out of the food. I hope you like seeing your food go bad on the shelves of the grocery store in a few days. It's like, well, first of all, we see that now. Secondly, what's the threat that we're going to have constantly fresh food? Is that the imagine a world where the meat is fresh, Ryan?
Yeah,
You have to get
I'm
it from
pretty
your
sure.
local. You have to get it from your local butcher.
I'm pretty sure I don't need preservatives if the cow's alive when it gets at the store and then is killed right before I eat it.
You know, there used to be, Ryan. Do you remember the restaurant Fuddruckers?
Yeah,
Okay, were you ever there, like in Fuddruckers? You just remember Fuddruckers? Okay,
I was
my
in
dad used
person.
to take me there, and it was fucking delicious. By the way, you would go there. There was a window, okay, where you could watch the butcher the meat in Fuddruckers. I was there like 9 years old. I'd look through the window and they're like chopping a cow up. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. And then all the meat was like displayed fresh in these glass things, like, and you could watch the butcher walk back and forth all day. Like, it was tremendously fresh. They had the best like hamburger buns on planet Earth. They were amazing, and everything was so good. And I think they've gone out of business, or they've definitely dwindled down because I haven't seen a Fuddruckers in years. But like, that's the world you would be living in. Okay, so if we imagine an RFK Maha world, okay, it's that. It's constantly fresh food, ready, available. Eve actually used to make fun of me when I would go to Tops, like when I lived on my own. It was right next door. We both
every freaking
we
second
both
of
lived at the
every
same
day.
we Brian, me and you both lived at the same apartment complex separately at separate times, but it was right next door to a Tops. And I wouldn't store food in my fridge.
He
I would
had nothing
just
to eat ever. Every single day, he would go to the freaking store and pick stuff up for dinner instead of meal planning like a normal person.
all my stuff was always good because it was right
Yeah,
next door. Why would I
no
store it's
man meal
the
plans.
grocery store is next door. Well, I don't need a fridge. It's next door. I'm going next door. I pick up what I'm eating, bring it home, always fresh. As fresh as a grocery store can be, at least. You know, God knows it was there for a week, but
No.
it wasn't there for a week and then in my fridge for 2 weeks.
Yeah, God forbid, David, all those Twinkies that I love to eat are going to have to either A, not be sold, or B, change ingredients
Oh,
so that they're
Ryan,
not good
maybe
for 50 years.
here's the conspiracy theory, Ryan. The the evil Trump Nazi administration, okay, is going to start a nuclear holocaust. But right before that happens, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to take the chemicals out of the food, so when the Holocaust happens, the Twinkies don't last. None of the peasants survive, Ryan. This is the global conspiracy theory. It's 4D Trump chess, Ryan. Ridiculous.
Involving Twinkies.
Ridiculous. That's the complaint of people on the left. Oh no, they're going to take the chemicals out of the food. God forbid the food will have to be fresh every day. Madness.
The same people that say eating meat is bad for you.
Go eat all the crickets you want. You know what? Let's leave chemicals in the crickets, and you guys can eat the chemical crickets, and then we'll eat the
Eat the
meat
GMO
from like
crickets?
the local butcher.
The GMO crickets.
And you know what's going to happen? There's going to be a bunch of 80-year-old ripped people who look like RFK Jr. And then there's going to be the chemical cricket people. They're going to be like 4'7", all have autism, all are 400 pounds. We'll see. We'll see. Let's separate this thing and see what's really happening.
Rogan said it best. He's like, there hasn't been like studies really done long term on like jack 50-year-old guys. He's like, so people are like, oh, you can't lift like that for your whole life. You'll be old. There's
Yes, you
90-year-old
can.
power
You
lifters.
absolutely can. Now,
Oh,
don't get me wrong.
there's not enough evidence.
Your ligaments and stuff, they do get weaker. Your muscle tissue and stuff, it will start to thin
How
out.
can it get
It'll
weaker
start
if
to
you're
tear.
rebuilding it your
It'll-
entire life, David?
But it does. It does. It gets older, and it can start to tear. Yes, if you're rebuilding some of the muscle mass, but there's still the tissue that holds it. It does over time. Like you can't be 106 bench pressing 500 pounds. I get it, but you can be an extraordinarily healthy 85-year-old person. Sure, you're not going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, but you'll be all right. You'll
We're getting
look a
there.
lot better
We're
than some
getting
of these people.
Everybody's fat. It's a problem.
It became such a
The
problem
problem
that
is
they created Ozempic, Ryan.
these people are. You're
Everyone
addicted to the chemicals.
said big and beautiful and don't body shame people, and then they created Ozempic, and all of a sudden it's cool to be skinny again. Wild.
Well, did you hear the conspiracy that celebrities were using that for 10 years and not telling anybody about it? That's how like all these
I wouldn't
people
be
lost
super
weight.
surprised, but then why would there be any fat celebrities, right? Like if it existed in those circles, why? I don't know.
Well, there was like a time that the rich were fatter. They wasn't jacked.
Well, that used to be
You know,
like
like
now we're talking about like
the
old
the
medieval
90s
times.
stereotype. No, the stereotype in the 90s was the fat businessman.
Well, I'm saying though, like that's historical though. Like if you go back, kings were overweight, and it was a sign of wealth.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe there's some of that. Now the new status is being fit. Because it costs money, it costs time, it costs extra resources, it costs like you need to be educated, you need to be hydrated. Like
But
there's so
really,
many things downstream from fitness that
well,
it's
because in this is, I guess, this is like a thing about a quality capitalist society like ours. But there's such an overabundance of everything that you have to work hard to be fit. Whereas back in
we
the
are
day,
biologically engineered to seek out the most calorie dense food ever, and all of our food is calorie dense. A fucking Twinkie has 7 billion calories. It's this big. You can eat 700 of them. You're gonna eat 700 of them. I
can't
heard
believe
the other
we're talking
day,
about Twinkies.
David, that the biggest people on earth have the highest calorie need. Okay, so the fatter you are, the more calories you need to
So it's like
maintain that, which makes
it's a
sense.
vicious circle.
So, yeah, but the thing is that also means that if you do need 1,400 calories a day, just stop fucking eating,
Well,
and you'll lose the weight literally.
that gets into basic calorie deficits, which is certainly now.
Calorie deficit and heavy weightlifting, and that's it.
Well, and what you're eating for sure.
You could do that on McDonald's as long as it's calorie. It literally don't matter.
I get that, but you're still better off doing that on fresh ground beef than McDonald's.
Clean 100.
But the thing with
just eat a
fresh
pound of ground beef.
you need 2 pounds of it to fill 1,000 calories or whatever it is. Like there's no calories in
pound's
ground beef. It's
1,000.
almost done. Is a pound 1,000? So if you want to maintain
like
2,000
940.
pound calorie diet, you need 2 pounds of ground beef a day.
Yeah, and then if you drink a half a gallon of chocolate milk, that's about like 940 calories. So you do a pound of ground beef and a half a
A
gallon
lot
of
of beef
chocolate milk a
stuff.
day. Yeah, I drink a half a gallon a day. I have a gallon actually in the car right now.
You have a gallon of chocolate milk in your car?
I probably go through I go through at least a half a gallon a day of milk.
Of chocolate milk? Regular milk?
Yeah,
Bro, that's a lot of
chocolate milk.
milk. That's a lot of
Yeah,
milk.
dude, it's fucking 1,000 calories, dude. 1,000 calories. I could drink the half gallon in one sitting, dude.
There's no
A
fucking way. That's a
thousand cal.
lot of chocolate milk.
Yeah, dude. It's $4. $4 for a gallon. It's 2,000 calories for $4, dude. You're not touching that.
If that's what you're looking for, sure.
You only need 2,000 calories, dude.
Well, that's dependent on a lot of factors.
I think it's bullshit. I don't think people know what their body needs.
Yeah. I don't know. Try water and 2 pounds of ground beef a day. See what happens.
Yeah, start with that, and if you don't like that, just do 2 pounds of chicken breast.
I don't think I could eat 2 pounds of chicken breast. That's too much chicken.
There's also the sweet. There's
chicken.
also the potato diet. I don't know.
I could.
You ever hear the potato diet? You ever hear the potato diet?
Yeah, it worked out well for the Irish.
Get the biggest pot you got. Make as many potatoes as you can. Boil them, mash them.
Starchy
Mash
carbs.
them. No salt, no pepper, no butter, nothing. And every time you're hungry,
no shot.
You eat that fucking bowl. You make a bowl and you eat it. And you know what? You will never eat your. You will never eat.
Of course you won't.
Yeah, you will never eat your daily nutrition, and you won't be hungry because every time you're hungry, you'll just eat the starch, and you're like, and you eat. Now I've never had to go on a weight loss journey, so but
there's a 0% chance I could pull that off.
I'd rather be fat.
You could fuck all of that. I'd carnivore diet tomorrow if I could. Even if it's not on board with that, but I would carnivore diet all day. Give me a pound of ground beef.
You can't. You can. Sure. You just won't.
Yeah, you can.
$8 a day, dude. $8 a day. You're fine.
Or even like I don't know. You could mix it up. It doesn't have to be just a pound of ground beef. You can get steaks or whatever.
Dude, you could. Yeah, steaks, but you could eat like 5 eggs in the morning and some bacon.
We could definitely eat a handful of eggs every morning. We'll need more chickens if we're doing 5 eggs every morning, though.
There's no way. I couldn't eat that many.
I could eat 5 eggs. For sure.
Or you could just like make a breakfast sandwich. Double egg breakfast sandwich. Bacon.
Maha, Ryan.
I don't know. Yeah, people against chemicals on food. Enjoy it, man. I'm going to drink my gallon of chocolate milk, be jacked, and fucking tan. So don't tell me about. I don't want to hear shit about sunscreen this year either, David. When they spray chemicals in the air, so they can get fucked twice.
Well, you don't actually have to worry about it this year, I don't think, because they're going to spray extra reflective materials into the air to reflect the sunlight. They want to dim the light, Ryan.
Yeah, they certainly do. They want to dim my light.
But it is a conspiracy at the same time. It's only water vapor, Ryan. But they're also making clouds extra reflective to block sun. But it's only water vapor.
They can only water vapor, but it rains in Dubai.
Only water vapor. But but cloud seeding works so well that they made floods in the desert. But it's a conspiracy. You can't do it. But also, it was an old operation from Vietnam. These people are so full of shit. It's fucking wild. They just start saying shit. There's proof and evidence of it all over the place. People still.
You know what's crazy?
It's a conspiracy.
Dave, what's crazy is you said 5 things, and all of them were true, and it just all took different timing. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it, ain't it?
Yeah. I can't stretch.
Dave Ryan.
I like the hour-long shows, Ryan. But today was a slow week. I think. I don't think there was it was a slow day. I forgot we're daily. It's a slow day. It's no longer a slow week. It's a slow day.
Yeah, I think three news topics a day, if it's slow, would stretch an hour. So, Dave Ryan, December 1773. Catch us on Rumble for the greatest podcast in all of human history. As always, David, I appreciate you most for your time. I'll see you all later.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ryan. 2 pounds of ground beef, half a gallon of chocolate milk every day. That's the diet, apparently.
And lift heavy, sleep, drink water, and read. Don't jerk off. I'm good.
Thanks, everyone.
Are they getting pegged?